Good morning, sports fans. It's George with Custom Tide Flies and Guide Service. And this morning, I'm going to be showing you how to tie the Custom Tide Rattlin Black Brushy Fly. So, overall length is going to end up being about 7 inches or so. This is tied on a 6/0 Gamakatsu SL12S. Um, for the rattles, I'm using a hairline uh, medium rattle. The thread I'm using on the inner part, I'm using Danville Flymaster 210 denier in black. And then for the outer part and the last part of it, I'm using um, 40 tippet mono. Excuse me. So the tail is SF fibers, Steve Farr fibers on the bottom, and EP Minnow in black for the top. So, first thing we're going to do is get mounted. And then we're going to get tied in. I tie in at about halfway up the shank because that's where the brush head is going to start. So I'm just putting the back end on right now. So I'm going to start at the bottom and work my way up. So this is a very thin fly. So you get a very little bit of this SF fibers. And you're going to tie these on the far side. And I forgot to clip them. So you got to clip off 1.5 inches. Now let's try that again. See another very thin clump. Trim off 1.5 inches. And this one goes on the near side. You want to make sure that they're down. Then some EP Pearl Blue Sparkle. And that goes on the very top. The back end is tied very much like a peanut butter. So now they're EP Minnow fibers. Again, a very thin clump. This you're going to cut 3 inches off. This one goes on the far side, just above the SF fibers. Top, and the one on the top is just a hair thicker, like 10 fibers worth thicker. And that goes on the very top. And then the near side. And there's your tail. Then the rattle. You can see how to put these rattles together on the I did a tutorial on putting rattles together. That's here on the YouTube channel. And that is it for the back part. I'm going to paint that with head cement. These flies are meant to chase giant trevally. So you need a very tough, resilient build. So the way I build these in pieces is for reinforcement of the build. Wouldn't have a very good reputation if first time you got on a giant trevally the fly fell apart. That would be bad. All right. Now I'm going to tie in with the mono. Now we're going to work our way from the top down, just like we would on a peanut butter. But again, these fibers are very thin. And just trim one off, fold it in half as you're starting to work on the taper. You want to kind of spread that out. These first couple are for hiding the rattle. And the same thing with your black SF. You're going to fold that in half, and you're going to just kind of let it float down the side, just like you would on peanut butter. And you're going to put one more black in on top. That over. Then your SF. All right. Now comes your red sparkle. Again, very little. There's a couple of reasons why we're making these so thin. Um, First off, they're big saltwater flies, and if they're not thin, they're extremely difficult to cast. That's why we're using synthetics. Um, because synthetics, especially EP, won't hold water. And they'll sink. Once they get the water in them, they sink kind of slow. Right. Now we're going to put in the shorts. We're going to go with 2 shorts. On the top and bottom. So very thin. You're going to cut 2 inches, 2.5 inches. Fold that in half. And it goes in on top. You're hiding the red is what you're doing with these. And then you got an SF. pull off the thin bunch. You're going to fold that in half, trim it, put half to the side, pinch it in the middle, and one more of the EP. This time just a hair heavier, not a lot heavier, just a hair heavier. Kind of like the top on the back that we just did. It's like 10 fibers more heavy. It's not a lot. I'm going to cut 2.5 inches off of that. You're going to finish hiding the red. And then take your second SF. That goes on. Same way the other one did. Now your red's all hid. Run that thread forward. And you're going to paint that. You set that off to dry. And then next is, this is EP Andromous Brush. You want to pull off some fibers to expose the wire inside. If it's a new brush, you won't have to do that, but you can get 2 of these out of each brush. Then you pull the fibers back and pinch them so that they crimp. And then these wraps don't need to be touching. I usually put them about, I don't know, an eighth to a skosh more than an eighth, I guess 3/16. You don't really want them touching because you ruin the effect of the brush if they're wrapped in too tight. And once you get up to behind the eye, you're going to get two that are touching. Old pair of scissors. You can save that for another different type of fly later. Do a 5 and 3 whip. You're going to take your wire brush and brush the head out. Put some, I recommend UV resin for this, but of course, you can use head cement too. But you want something that's going to be thick and penetrate down through that mono. Now it's inspection time. You're going to take your comb. I usually lay mine on my leg and fibers out. I know Enrico keeps his in his vise, but I'm George, not Enrico. So I want to look at how thick the fly is looking from the top down. I'm looking on this size, I'm looking for nothing more than maybe a quarter of an inch looking from the top down. I want to be able to see through the fibers. So you can see through the fibers. You can see my wife's light on the other side of the room there. Okay. Then I want to kind of spread the fibers out. And I want to put a measure on it because I don't want the fly to be any more than 6.5 or 7 inches, and this one's 8. So I want to start getting some length off of it and getting a taper to it. So I start on the bottom. It's not bad. Then I go to the top. Yeah, there's some long ones there. They can go. You don't want to just chop these, and you want to keep the general shape tapered into the head. Get a measure. All right. Get a measure. There we go. Now we got it. All right. And we're going to look at the fly from the top. And we're going to try to point that top a little bit. Okay. I got a hump right there. Still got a hump. There we go. No more hump. There's a couple of strays. There we go. Now I'm going to get it back in the vise. And I'm going to put some eyes on it. Now, typically I would use 7.5 millimeter from posted golden eyes from EP, but my customer wanted bigger eyes, and I don't blame him. So we're going to go with 10 millimeter yellow sticker eyes. You got to do what the customer wants, and the very best way to find out what the customer wants is to work with him and ask. Believe me, they'll respect you if you do that. Okay, I got my eyes ready. So I'm using Zap-A-Gap. I like small tubes. I just get down through the tube with a bodkin point. And you want to put the eye on about halfway between the point and the eye of the hook. And you just need a little, it's like Brill cream, a little dab will do you. My stepdad used to use Brill cream in his hair, slicked his hair straight back. So I made this little tool here. It's a kind of cross stitch needle, so it's not real sharp, but it's good for applying glue or picking stuff out or whatever. And then I took a little piece of foam and glued it to the top of the needle, and that gives me something that I can push on an eye with, and I can get the pressure of pushing on the eye distributed out so it doesn't, that way that um that way that it doesn't slip off. I'm going to put some UV resin around the edge of the eye. This again is about reinforcement. For the eye with UV resin, and that seals it in place. Now the other side. A lot of times the glue will keep coming out of the tube, so you got a little pile of glue. I I put a little uh, plastic hook bag on my tying desk so that I can catch that. It doesn't make a big mess. Other eye at. That's one. Yeah, there it is. Get the eyes as directly across from each other as possible. Seal up the edges. All right. Now you see how you got fibers kind of sticking out from the sides of the eye. You want to get rid of those. So you'll have to dismount and just kind of look at it from the top and just kind of sculpt those off. And there you have it. Custom Tides Rattlin black EP brush fly in a 6/0. Thank you for watching this tutorial. I hope it was helpful for you. If it was, please like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. You can also find this and other tutorials on the website. My showcase website is www custom-tied.com. CUSTOM dash TIED.com. Have a splash. Don't forget the dash. Happy tying.